You're listening to Mammal Watching with Charles Foley and John Hall. You can find other episodes at mammalwatching.com/podcast.
Welcome to the Mammal Watching podcast with me, John Hall in New York.
And me, Charles Foley in Minneapolis. Hi, John. Good to see you again. I see you've been traveling in South America.
I have just got back from a trip to Argentina and a little bit of Chile. It was lovely. We will talk about that soon. But it's good to see you, Charles. And you've just got back from Tanzania as well.
That's right. Fantastic trip. Did coastal Kenya and southern Tanzania, among other places. And yes, indeed, I will also talk about that on another podcast. But today, what we are going to do is following on from the Sulawesi trip. We have a little introductory segment, which we're going to play. And I think people sometimes get the idea, John, that every time we go to a place, we are highly successful and we see all of our target species. Because we tend to write about the animals that we do see and not about the ones that we've missed. But we want to set the record straight, because there are plenty of times when we go to places and we do not see the animals that we're looking for. And that was the case with this one. This was a quest to try to see the Sumatran Striped Rabbit, which is one of the rarest species on the planet. And boy, did we fail dismally, didn't we, John?
We failed on every level. But in retrospect, I'm glad we tried. But at the time, I don't think I'd have said that.
Let's listen to how we did. Okay, so here we are. John, we've had a bit of a trip so far. So I've come Minneapolis to Chicago, Chicago, Doha, Doha, Jakarta, Jakarta to Sumatra. Then we've driven about 2.5 hours. And now we are about to jump onto some motorbikes to go up a hill for about another hour so we can find the Sumatran Striped Rabbit. John, how are you doing?
I'm exhausted. We missed our first flight. Our second flight was delayed. It's now dark. We're trying to pack everything into two small bags to carry on the back of motorbikes. I'm sure I've forgotten everything. And yeah, I've been better, Charles. We'll see what happens.
It's going to be a really long night. All right. So about an hour later, we have reached Camp Rabbit. So we were on the back of motorbikes on muddy, wet trails going sort of pretty much straight up a hill. These guys are fantastic bike riders, and they actually put chains on their bike to actually make it up. The main question for you, John, is how are your buttocks?
My buttocks are right. My quad's not so good. Yeah, that was an adventure. It woke me up, that's for sure. So there's 7 motorbikes up here, 11 people, well, 11 plus us, so 14 people. It's quite an operation. So we just need a rabbit now.
That's right. And I should say we did all that in the dark as well. And at this point, so let's introduce the third team member over here, János, Oláh. So people who have been following Mammal Watching for a while will know János, because he is the one who runs these amazing trips in Romania where they see 50 plus species on one trip. It's like 8 days, which is incredibly remarkable for Europe. And János is over here with us, and he claims to be a birder, but he's got all the aspects of a mammal watcher, all the good looks and all the rest, and he is with us here chasing the rabbit. János, can you just say a few words?
Well, I'm certainly going to be mammal watcher if I'm doing this. What are we doing now? So this Rindingan forest where we were heading in the rain it looks quite remote. So elevation is about 1,150 meters for the camp. Goodness knows how high we need to climb for the rabbit. But let's hope we're going to connect with this mythical beast.
All right. Fingers crossed for the rabbit. Okay, so we've just had our first night walk, John.
Stroll.
Stroll. John, would you care to describe your feelings about said night walk?
Oh my God. Yeah, we do. It was, can I describe it? It was slippery in all directions. Plus, as an added surprise, one step into the ground would give way under you. There was nothing really to hold on to. What you did hold on to would also come away. There were thorns. There were all sorts of bugs, like massive ants that I don't think bit me. There was no chance of even looking for anything other than where your feet were going. And you couldn't even see the ground anyway because there was no ground to see because it was just mud and just vegetation just packed everywhere. So absolutely hopeless. But you got to do these things and learning trial and error, right? Trial and error.
That's right. So the next people will definitely avoid that trail. That's Jonas, you did actually pick up some wildlife though, didn't you?
Wildlife, yes. I had the leeches. That was lovely. One on my neck, one on my hand. But I did use for 3 times for 3 seconds my thermoscope. But let's try a different place.
All right. We're all seconding that. Okay, so it's the morning of the next day. And I think it's fair to say that the evening didn't really go to plan. We jumped on bikes again and drove up to the forest. And then got into the forest. And it's a really, really tough forest to see anything in. Really dense vegetation, steep, muddy, lots of rattan thorns, and frankly, you spend all your time just looking at your feet, trying to make sure you don't kill yourself, and no time actually scanning for anything. And I think we decided, John, that basically there was just about zero chance of seeing a rabbit in that vegetation. What were your thoughts?
Yeah, it was interesting. It was a classic kind of rhythm of a mammal trip to a new destination. Everyone's very excited when they arrive, and there's talk about we've seen the rabbits here, there, and everywhere, and we're all gung ho. And half an hour later in the forest, we're just like, what the hell are we doing? We're never going to see one in here. So, yeah, I've destroyed one of my 2 pairs of trousers for the trip have already been wrecked. My boots have been wrecked. It was horrible, thorny, messy forest, but just nowhere to look for them. The rabbits are there. It was certainly an adventure to get there, but you just have this feeling there's no way we're going to see one here. So we've bailed already, and we're going to Wakambas, which I feel very good about.
Yeah, we bailed, and the bottom line is that you could not use a thermal over here because, frankly, you couldn't see an elephant through that forest, let alone a damn rabbit. So we've pretty much agreed that it's not going to happen. And János, you called it. You said these Sumatran forests are really tough, and you were absolutely right.
Yes, well, back to how we get there. You were just saying that we jumped on the bikes and go up to the forest. Well, I don't exactly remember like that. We had to cover a 300-meter elevation range on foot after the little bike ride. But yes, the forest was just as thick as I experienced on my birding tours in Sumatra. But being a foothill forest, it was even more difficult because infested with these rattan palms with their spiny tentacles trying to get you, and they get you. So yeah, I think it's fair to say that the rabbit lives there. It goes on the camera traps every 3 weeks or so, but actually walking in the forest, making noise, and not able to see the underground, I mean the ground from the low vegetation, doesn't help. So it's a tough species. Probably you can see it, but you might want to spend a few weeks there.
Yeah, actually, you probably wouldn't want to spend a few weeks there, but because we forgot to add that it was actually fairly leech infested as well. But yeah, that's probably what it would take. It would probably take a couple of weeks of going up really quietly. There were one or two areas which were a little bit open, but boy, it's tough, very tough. So we have decided that we are going to cut our losses on that one. We are going to go to Way Canvas, and John has promised us all sorts of amazing animals, unicorns, elephants, you name it.
But also on the upside for this trip, the motorbike stuff was really fun. It was pretty terrifying. The last trip we did up to the second trail, the guys were just talking on the radio. They kept using the word extreme. So it was very kind of Mission Impossible zooming up there through this thick mud. And that was a lot of fun. It wasn't at the time, but on retrospect, I'm glad I did it. And then this morning, we had a bunch of siamangs around camp. We could hear them hooting in all directions. That was really cool. And we saw some. And we saw Sumatran langur, which I've never seen before. So I got a new primate tick I wasn't expecting. So every cloud has a silver lining.
It does indeed.
So the other person with Charles and me on the famous rabbit trip was our good friend János Oláh from Hungary. Many of you who follow mammal watching will know János from his comments and his sort of interactions on the site, but especially as the person who set up for Sakatours the Romanian Mammal Week, which is still far and away the best week of mammal watching you can have in Europe, as far as I know, best 10 days. They're breaking records for how many species they're seeing, and I never thought it'd be possible to see as much in Europe as János is finding with Sakatours for that trip, and we'll talk about that later. János Oláh is one of those great people that we love so much in the mammal watching world. He's a birder turned mammal watcher. He's seen the light, but he's applying his secret birding knowledge to finding mammals, which is fantastic. János is the founder and owner of Sakatours, based in Hungary, a birding, a mammal watching, and photography company that run tours around Europe. He's also a very experienced birding guide for BirdQuest and has traveled the world. I think he's up to about 8,000 birds. Is that right, János?
Over it now.
Over 8,000. Imagine. What a waste of time. No, I shouldn't say that. I was just called out by birders for being too critical. 8,000 birds, János. Amazing. János Oláh, welcome to the podcast. It's great to see you.
Well, it's nice to see you both. It's been almost a month. We've seen each other on a mammal watching tour, so it's great to have a little chat.
Absolutely. Good to see you again, János. So, János, why don't we start out with you telling us how you got interested in wildlife?
Indeed. It's been some time ago. I was living in a small town in kind of middle of the Hungarian Great Plain, which the town is called Szarvas, which is the Hungarian name for deer. And my father, actually, both my parents were working in the Fisheries Research Institute, which was the only fisheries research institute in Hungary. So we were living in a campus with fish ponds around and Oxbow Lake. So from my early childhood, I was out in nature every day. Of course, angling, that was the obvious choice. So that's how I actually grew up being in nature most of my free time throughout primary and secondary school as well. So that's how it started.
And how did you become a birder?
Well, yes, from angling to birding, it was a completely different world. I remember we had a bird watcher in the campus. He was a little bit older than me. Probably I was 7, 8, 9, and he was 15-ish. And he took me out to the fish ponds. It was April. I think it was April 89 or something like that. And we were seeing various ducks, some with yellow head, others with red, and all kind of colors. And I was really fascinated as a kid. So water birds really, really got me hooked on. And then it was quite a regular thing in Hungary that after school, we were going on to various summer camps. So I was also sent to some of these summer camps. And the first one, after this duck experience, that summer I was sent to the Hortobágy. There was a regular big summer camp for young nature enthusiasts or just for people that parents wanted to get rid for the summer. Anyway, it was a great place. And I remember in the first day, there were a lot of introduction, and they were telling us to choose which kind of part of the camp we would like to do. And I still vividly remember there was a very famous ornithologist. He passed away a few years ago, but he's probably the most famous bird watcher in the Hortobágy region, and he was leading the summer camps. But for a lot of us, because we were about 10, 12 who wanted to join the ornithology department, because they were kind of elite. They left early morning, very early morning, after a tea and a quick breakfast, and they were only back in the afternoon. So they did not need to do any actual work in the summer camp. So we said, some of us, that, okay, let's go for the ornithology session. And that's how it started. Just colorful ducks, and then summer camps, and being a little bit lazy. And then, yeah, that's birding. And then, you know how it goes. I was hooked on and then started birding. So that became more of a thing for me than angling. And it's changed slowly.
That's the most honest answer I think we've ever heard about why someone became a birder, and one of the best ones. Well done.
Although you, János, are anything but lazy, certainly in the field. But anyway, so you've got through summer camp. What was your progress then into actually setting up and running Saka tours?
Well, that wasn't the first step, really. I think the first step was joining the Hungarian Ornithological Society, and obviously, as I was interested in water birds, I just did a few survey works. So even as the first thing I did really was selecting one of the fish pond systems, and then go there every mid-month count, and slowly as it progressed over the years, got into more projects and stuff in the ornithological world. But my father was working in the Natural History Museum in London, and that was at the beginning of the secondary school. So I left Hungary for London. We spent half a year there, and I met lots of birders there in the UK, and that was a big turning point. And when I returned home, we started to set up. Actually, it was more like it wasn't an official company then. We just started to do Saka trips, which was visiting birders, coming to the Hortobágy area and trying to show them some birds. So actually, I started guiding in a very early stage. I was about 16. And a few years later, my father actually set up the company because he had the funds for it, Saka Tours. But with Zoltán Ecsedi, who was my good friend, we were mostly the guides. So that was in 1994. That's when Saka Tour was set up.
And Saka Tours started primarily as a birding company, but you've moved into mammal watching now, Mammal Tours, which is fantastic, I think. Can you talk about some of the skills that you've learned in the birding world that you now apply to finding mammals, because you're very, very good at it?
Well, I think there are a lot of birders doing mammals, especially nowadays. As we always say, and you told me several times, John, obviously the thermo images cameras were a big changer, and a lot of bird guides, especially those who like owls. Every birder like owls, and a lot of bird guides like owls too. So when we got those thermo imager cameras, then a lot of birders turned into mammal watchers, because we've been out there all night, and looking, and it's. I think that was the main thing which changed a lot of birders, or get them interested in mammals as well. And of course, when you get interested in something, you want to spend more and more time. I can think several people. Just Carlos is a good example. He's a master of a bird guide, and then he became interested of mammals, and of course all the skills you learn on the birds, some of them you can use for the mammals. So, and also running tours and being with many bird watching tours gives you an idea what people want, how they want, what intensity they want. But certainly one thing is you learn where to look for birds, and that's a big lesson for mammal watching as well.
It is, and that's something I've noticed with you and Carlos is you're always about finding the right habitat, and the animals will follow. You shared a great story in Sulawesi, which I'd love you to tell again, about how you learned this lesson at an early age because of a certain bird in Hungary.
Well, yes, I remember that. Yes, it's very, very early stage. I learned that certain birds and certain mammals, they are confined to a specific habitat. And I remember I was still just started birding, probably a year or so. So that means I was probably 12, something like that. And then I was looking at the field guides, the Patterson, Montfort, Hollom field guide, what everybody used in those days. And I saw a bird, which is the wall creeper. And of course, wall creeper is a bird of gorges, especially limestone, but any rocky habitat with scree, and so very specific habitat. But the Hungarian name is dawn bird, because the wings are pinkish. So the color of the sky at dawn is pink. And I really wanted to see that. So I set my alarm back home in the middle of the Hungarian Great Plain. There is no rocks, no scree whatsoever, and wall creepers never been recorded. So I set my alarm early morning before dawn, and then alarm was off. I put up all the gear, like being 12, walked out of the house, and it's still dark, but there is a little bit of fading light. And then I said, no, that's fine. I'm looking for the dawn bird, the hajnalmadár, but where to start? And that was a moment I can still remember, and that set me on habitat, how important habitat is. And over the years, I did a lot of, I've been involved in nature conservation projects, mostly wetland habitat restoration, and also a lot of bird watching tours, and now mammal watching tours. But I always look at all birds or mammals or even butterflies, and first learn about their habitat, where they live, what they do, and that's how you can look for them. I think that's the story you were referring to, John.
It is indeed. I just love the thought of 12-year-old János getting up at the crack of dawn to look for a bird he's never going to see. It's very sweet, but we've all been there, I think, similar things. So I love it.
Let me just take you back to the Sakatours. How many people now work for Sakatours, and sort of roughly how many trips do you lead a year?
Well, nowadays, as I said, we started the company back in '94. And it was primarily bird watching. That was very, very famous. I think in the '90s it was a very famous thing. But more and more people started photographing, even in the '90s. But there was a huge change in 2005, I think 2004 or 5, and digital photography came in. So we were very early stage, we started photography tours, and we separated it from bird watching, actually. I think we were amongst the first companies in Europe to do so, to have different bird watching and photography tours, because the clash of interest was quite big. We realized it from the moment that birders want to see a bird, they might want to take a few pictures, but then move on to the next bird. While photographers were more into the photography, and they wanted to spend more and more time with the actual subject. In Europe, it's not that so easy to take pictures, so we set up hides, and by 2006 we started hide photography in Hungary, and then after a few years we did start in Transylvania, in Romania, and then eventually in the Danube Delta as well. This is the 3 main bases we did, and over the years I have seen a lot of changes in the birding world, and a lot of people get more and more interested in other part of nature as well, and but definitely more people interested in photography. It's such an image-oriented world if you think about its social media and all the impacts and everything is really image-based. Mm-hmm. So people find that that's what they want to do. If they see something, they want to have pictures, they want to share it with others. Some of the people go and actually go even higher level, and they do all kind of competitions and everything. So I slowly saw the change at birding. Birding was less and less popular, and photography was more and more popular over the years. And just about around COVID, because I've been looking at mammals on the BirdQuest tours I've been leading, and also at home, and but never had the actual time to set up a tour. But I always knew that I really want to try and do tours, Forsaker tours for mammals as well. And then came COVID, and that was good. From that point of view, I had actually almost 2 years where I could do things I was just about dreaming in the past 10 years. So as soon as it came, I said, okay, let's do a mammal tour. So let's start with mammals. And that's when we set up our mammal tours. But back to your question anyway, if we are a small company, we have about 6-7 full-time people working for Seika tours, mostly guides. Marianna, my sister, in the office, and also we have people who are doing boats and all the necessary hide works. So we are 4, 5, or 6 full-time, and we have about another 8 to 10 part-time guides, because a lot of birdwatching guides, at least in Eastern Europe, they mostly involved in nature conservation. Either they work for a national park or for an NGO, and but they want to get out, they do something in a different area, and they want to get also a little bit of income, extra income, I mean, and they enjoy guiding. So we have quite a few of our guides are actually working in nature conservation.
Right. So a few years ago, you set up your Romania Mega Mammal Tour. And I, for one, I'm always really interested to see when your trip report comes out, what you found. And it just seems to be getting better and better. Can you describe a little bit about the sort of mammals that you see on that tour?
Well, yes, as I was just telling you, when I came to the conclusion that, yes, let's start and create a mammal tour, I was thinking first what kind of mammal tour it should be. But then I looked around on the European market, and there were some mammal tours, specific mammals and specific countries, but I didn't find any, not a single tour in Europe, which was like for bird watchers to go to a place and try to see as many mammals as possible. So that was the first, I decided, okay, let's create a mammal tour for somebody who would visit Europe from America or Africa or from Asia, from anywhere, but not actually being European, and try to get as many European mammals in a single tour as possible. And then we looked around on the ground where we operate, Hungary, Slovakia, and Romania. And Romania was the obvious choice, we already been working with photographers and hides and bears. So we said, okay, there are bears and large carnivores, the Carpathians, and plus the Danube Delta, and then looked into what other specialties there. And then we realized, of course, the Romanian hamster could be something which we should try and see. There was very little knowledge about that mammal just until a few years ago. And then we were dreaming about, we could see some good mustelids like polecats or even maybe European mink. And then we said, okay, let's go. I put together an itinerary for that year. And I think I invited anybody from our team who want to do it, and probably one or two friends who were not even involved in the company. And I set a date, and then let's go and try. So that was the beginning of the Romania Mammal Tour, and it was interesting. Again, we realized that we don't know much, or we don't know a lot about some of our targets. But luckily, again, it was COVID time, so it turned out to be good. I mean, the itinerary turned out to be almost as good, that we haven't made any major changes in that tour itinerary ever since. We've run that tour now. This year was the sixth time, so the sixth tour, and then we started to, let's see how many species we can find. And yes, we did go out first night, seeing 28 golden jackals. I still remember, that was great. And then looked at various habitats that Romanian hamster should be here and there. And then we were looking for holes, and we contacted a mammal expert in Romania, Zsolt Hegyeli, and he told us that he has caught Romanian hamsters and actually saw it a few times, but he said they're not so easy. So we were looking around, the same with more rats. So actually we had to learn every single species, how to see them. There was no knowledge how to see them, apart from websites like Mammal Watching and reading reports from other parts of the world. How you're going to see a zocor, then you can also see more red that way. So anyway, the first tour was something more of a trial, and but we did go, and days after days, and then we get into the Delta, and believe it or not, on the Delta, first night, we just left the accommodation. 5 minutes later, the first mammal we saw was a European mink. So that was the time I said,
great.
yes, this tour has something which could be good. If we keep working, this tour can have as many species and some really nice mammals too. So we had European mink, and we actually saw a second mink on the second night. So that was fantastic. We were really overwhelmed what is possible. And then we came up to the Carpathians, and then we saw bears and all the species, again, dormouse. And then we started to dream about, yes, but we should add this and another one. And then we asked one of the bat experts that when and how would be possible to see bats and incorporate it into the tour. And then we met another expert, Csaba Jére, who has been doing bats in the Vargyas gorge, Vargyas cave system for many years, and they've been always doing it in late summer. So we asked if we could come over on the tour and see what they're doing. So we added a few species, and then he also working with us now. So actually we did the complete tour. And I think we had like 46 species. I can't remember, but I think we had 46 species. But said, wow, that's of course a lot of species were the bread and butter European mammals, like everybody see them. But you were trying to see them in 9 days, 8 nights, and try to see as many. I remember discussing with John what could be the possible target number. And I knew after the first two that we will reach 50 one day or maybe more. And indeed, it's just every single tour we're getting better and better. But of course, we put in a lot of recce, a lot of work, how to actually see a species, putting up lots of nest boxes for dormouse. So now we can see forest dormouse regularly. And I think there is only one species we have seen on the first tour, but not in the next 5. And that was a pack of wolves hunting. We saw in the Carpathians, because they persecuted in the Carpathians for hundreds of years because of lots of livestock, and just they were part of nature and part of the village life. So they quite difficult to see in Transylvania. And we were out at, I don't know, 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning, just not far from the Hargita Bear Lodge, and then found the wolves on a just freshly killed red deer, great views and everything. And I think we have not seen that species on the Mammal Tour except on the first tour. So, but every year is different. As you know, with mammal watching, you can do the same tour, and it's going to be always different. It's weather, it depends on the food supply for the raptors. It also depends how good of a rodent here. It depends on a lot of things. But we soon reached 50 species. I think it was already the second year. And then the record now is 60 species in 9 days, which is, I think, is quite amazing in Europe. And this year, I think we had again 54. So we can safely say that the same itinerary is running what we actually did first time, and we fine-tuned it and worked a lot how we can see and manage to show clients some of the species. And now we are there. We can see between 50 or 60 species on every tour, with a different set of tours. There are rare mammals as well as more common ones. We made a list, I remember, with Zsolt Babos, who is one of my main partners in Transylvania, that we should make first a list with that 20-25 species, which you don't even need to worry about, because you will come across it. And then we did another list what we need to work on, like create habitat, feed them, make nest boxes, and I think we are there now. It's very difficult to add much more. I think this is the limit on a European tour, well, at least in Eastern Europe, because I'm still trying to persuade Carlos to make a Spanish tour as well. And let's see what's possible in Spain.
And am I right in saying that one of the species that you have seen on that trip is the marble polecat?
Marble polecat, we knew it does live in Romania. And we knew that one day we will see it, but it took us, well, I think we saw it on the last year tour in 2024. That was the 5th tour. So it took us 5 years to come across it. Funny enough, in that year, we saw one on the first evening, and the second day we found a freshly killed one. On the previous tours, not a sniff. We haven't found any, or didn't even see a dead on road. So yes, we did see now a marble polecat as well, and steppe polecat maybe half of the tours. So even mustelids are possible. They're not easy. Mustelid's not easy. And mink the same. We haven't not seen mink on every tour, but like this year we had 3 sightings of European mink in the Danube Delta, because we have more data, we have more knowledge, we know which sections, what kind of water level. So as you go along and you learn a lot about the mammals and the habitat and the possibilities.
Yeah, just from my point of view, and I'm sure everyone else is getting this who's listening, but it's a hell of an achievement to have had the vision to do this in the first place. I mean, congratulations, but then to put this together, as you said, on the basis of not very much knowledge and just piecing out how to do this in 9 days. It's really remarkable, János, and I want to congratulate you again. It's fabulous. This is the future for mammal watching. Just for people who are listening who might be interested, can you just run through very quickly some more details of where this year's or next year's tour will be, like length, which locations you visit, whether it's kind of physically very demanding, those kind of things?
As I said, yes, of course I can. We running this tour usually at the end of the summer, talking with a lot of mammal watchers and researchers. That's the time when you have also a lot of young mammals, so numbers are as high as possible. So that's probably the best time to run the tour. Also, being out at night, it's nice when you are not freezing. So late summer was the choice, and it looks like that last week of August or the first 10 days of September, this two weeks time frame is the best. And next year tour, I think, is 22nd to 30th of August next year, and it is the same itinerary ever since. We spend 2 days, 2 nights actually, because when you're talking about the mammal watching tour, you're working mostly at night. And late summer starry nights out in the Danube Delta is great, I can tell you. But we start with 2 nights around the lagoon system south of the Danube Delta. So we visit various habitat of marshland, lagoons, gorges, and also agricultural land, because the hamsters do go into agricultural land, not only steppe habitat. And then we move into the Danube Delta for 2 nights inside the delta, exploring it on a boat for hours and hours at night, looking for stuff. It's always a highlight. And then we cross on the 5th night, we cross the Carpathians. So we drive from the Danube Delta up to the Carpathians, mammal watching and thermoscoping all night. That's where we usually see our first bears and dormouse. Sometimes up to 20 bears. It's possible in a night. So then we arrive to Transylvania, and we have 4 nights in Transylvania, where we do also Zsolt Hegyeli is helping us because he's doing a regular survey work for the northern birch mouse. So we try to incorporate mammals into the tour, which are also interesting for mammal watchers. And the genus Cicista, the birch mouse, is not an easy group to collect for family collectors. So we decided to team up with Zsolt, and now this was the 4th year in a row he tried, and the 3rd tour in a row we actually managed to catch and see northern birch mouse. The first time when we tried, everything was good except the weather. All the traps and everything was flooded out. So that's why one of the year was not successful. But ever since, Zsolt is getting his data and DNA samples from the birch mouses for his research and stuff, and we are getting to see it. So in Transylvania, not only the bears and large carnivores, because we are always in European lynx habitat and wolf habitat, so always the chance to see those, but not much success yet. Obviously, late summer is good for a lot of mammal species, but not for lynx, for example, because they move mostly in the mating season in late February and March. But having said that, last year, when I returned home from the mammal tour, just a few days later, one of our guides found a freshly killed roe deer carcass. So I went back straight, and Eurasian lynx with 2 cubs were visiting it for 2 nights, 2 days and 2 nights, until they ate the roe deer. No, actually, until the wolves found it, because then she took the cubs away. Wow. So yes, it is possible even on the mammal tour to see it. And then we also have 1 night with a bat expert, also in Transylvania. And we usually finish the tour and look for a second species of hamster, the common hamster. So that it is 2 nights, 4 nights in eastern Romania, including the Danube Delta, and 4 nights in Transylvania. So it's 9 days and 8 nights out.
It sounds absolutely magic. Congratulations again on setting this up. What a trip.
Thank you very much, John. We'll keep trying and try to find as many mammals as we can for the future tours. We all enjoy it. It's a great fun every year. Or chat group goes on. It's a week to go to the Mammal Tour, folks. So get your stuff out and get ready.
And János, I know that you recently started up mole rat safaris, which I think has to be a first anywhere in the world. Can you tell us a little bit about those?
More rats, yes. Well, again, there are mammal watchers and there are different mammal watchers. We knew probably more rats not going to be the most exciting for most mammal watchers, but there could be some interest because there are some mammal watchers who like to see obscure species. So we said, okay, let's do something crazy. Let's make a tour where all our main targets living under the ground. I don't think there is any other mammal watching tour which has this target. So we looked around and again teamed up with Zsolt Hegyeli, who is now started his PhD study on more rats. So that was the obvious choice. And we said, I was discussing with him, and the idea came that let's try to see this species. And especially there is an endemic one in Romania, the Méhely's blind mole rat. So we set up a tour and try to see the 4 species of, but depending on taxonomy, but 2 spalax, the larger ones, and 2 nanospalax species. And after some groundwork and after a lot of digging, helping Zsolt to get some data in late summer, when the earth is really, really hard, I decided there's no way we're going to do a mole rat tour anytime, which is not March or April, when the ground is soft. So that first we made a little extension to one of our mammal tour to see the Méhely blind mole rat, and we did see it. It took us several days, but the last day we managed to see it. And then we said, okay, that's great fun. Let's do a tour with all 4 species, go for the full Monty and try. And yes, 2025, we were running the first ever mammal watching tour, which were targeting mammals under the ground. And actually, John was on the tour, and his report is available on mammalwatching.com. It is not a tour for those who are looking for adrenaline and excitement. It's more about looking for a mammal tour when you are relaxing a lot, sitting around and looking at a hole. Do you remember this, John?
How could I ever forget, János? Those 3 days we spent staring into an empty hole in the bitter cold. Fun. No, it was a lot of fun, but definitely a bit niche.
And have you had any other takers for this trip, János, or has it literally just been John?
No. We had hardcore mammal watchers from Europe. So we were, I can't remember, 5 or 6 of us on this first tour, plus Zsolt Hegyeli and myself, Zsolt as a guide and myself as a driver and a digger. So I think we were 6. And originally, I wasn't thinking to repeat this tour, but then realized if we already have it done and actually seen all 4 species, we will try to run it again. Probably not every year, not even every second year, but every 3-4 years. If there are takers, we will get our spades out and try to show them more rats.
Fantastic. Next, we need to get you to come over here to the States and show us how to find a star-nosed mole. So, János, obviously you've guided a lot of trips, a lot of bird trips where you've been looking at mammals and actual full-blown mammal trips as well. So can you tell us about some of the highlights of those trips, some of the best mammals that you've seen?
Yeah, that's a good question. I still have not seen, I did not reach the 1,000 mammal, which I would quite like to see 1,000 mammal. But I've seen quite a few nice mammals. And Of course, everybody loves cats and primates. So seeing red-shanked duck langurs in Vietnam on birding tours, or snow leopards in Ladakh, and those are all highlights as for everybody. But as we do quite a bit of work on the Eurasian lynx, having lots of camera traps and trying to figure out how to see them, definitely watching the mother with a cub last year was a highlight for me after so many years. I did see lynx before, like driving at night in winter and on a remote road in the Island Mountains in Transylvania, and lynx just coming on the road and seeing it like that. But it was different to see it with cubs and lengthly. So that was a great big highlight. But I think it was more the biggest highlights always unexpected meetings with mammals. So we had half year in Australia with my family, again just before COVID. But I already had my thermoscope, and looking for birds and mammals was great. But I never imagined, because there was so few data available or reports which were seeing that I'm going to see a feather-tailed glider. And I think it was already the first week or the second, just around Sydney, I found one or two, and I saw them regularly. So that was quite a highlight for me for the Australia tour, seeing feather-tailed gliders almost every week. And I found them in a lot of places. And obviously, there were not much thermoscoping before COVID in Australia. So now we learned how and where to look for them, and easy to find them. But when I went there in 2019 or so, there were very few reports of actual seeing feather-tailed gliders. So that was definitely one of the highlights to see them regularly when I was in Australia. And that was a big highlight.
As was the Indonesian mountain weasel you saw in Sumatra. You've seen that twice, right? That's a mega mustelid, and you bumped into it. Is it twice you saw that?
Yes, that's funny. Yes, I mean it doesn't come down as a highlight when you're not really knowing the rarity what you're seeing, because I have done quite a few Sumatra tours, but we did make notes of mammals, but I wasn't a mammal watcher then. But I did see twice, and I even managed to photograph it. So when I started mammal watching, and I realized that I need to start recording what I'm actually seeing, I did in COVID time again, when you have lots of time, you can't leave the house. Then you said, okay, I'm going to go through that roughly 100,000 slides I've got from the last 25 years. So I decided, for example, my mammal list. I've seen a lot of mammals before, but when you are not a mammal watcher, you are not sure of the identification. You are not sure in a lot of things. So I said I have to set up a zero level on my list. So I went through all my slides, and every single mammal species I've got picture of went on my mammal list, and everything else which was only in notes, I just deleted those. So yeah, that's how I started, and then found the mountain weasel pictures, and then all the memories flood back, and then I still didn't know how rare it is. I think I sent it to you that I've seen this one in Sumatra, what this can be. And then you said, oh, this is this species. And then I realized, wow, what a good species. And as I heard now, there is a place in Java where you have a chance to see that mega mustelid.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's a good one. János, and on that note, let's bring this to an end. Thank you so much for joining us. It's always a pleasure and always makes me laugh talking to you. You're a great communicator and raconteur. You're also a great mammal innovator. You know, COVID, thank goodness for COVID, because it brought you and Carlos well into the mammal watching fold. And I'd like to congratulate you again on all you've done for mammal watching, for pioneering these kind of birding style cleanup trips, for finding 60 species in Europe in 8 nights is incredible. I can't wait to see what you bring next to the mammal watching table, what new tours you'll pioneer. You've always got a lot of ideas, so I'm sure something special things will emerge very soon. And I can't wait to see you on future trips around the world as well. Thank you so much for joining us. And let me wish you and all our listeners who celebrate happy Christmas, happy holidays, and a very happy new year. We look forward to talking about mammals with you all for 2026.
Thank you very much, John and Charles. It was great chatting you after not seeing you for a few months. And likewise, I'm wishing a really, really good mammal watching year for everybody. And I'm sure our community is growing and more guides are converted. So yes, let's go mammaling. Thank you.
And I second everything that John said. I for one, am looking forward to one day joining you on your Romania trip. And I look forward to hearing more about your mole rat safaris. And really, I just love that idea. And I would love that to take off around the world so that people all over the place are now starting to spend hours and hours and hours just staring at holes, waiting for these little animals to come out. Frankly, I think that would be great. And it'll all be down to you, János.
Indeed. It's an Eastern religion, staring at holes in the ground. It's the most Zen you can ever get. And I think János is going to be the guru, the yogi in Hungary who pioneers this. You'll have Hollywood celebs lining up to join you in those fields. Thank you, János. Great to talk to you. Bye.
You've been listening to Mammal Watching with Charles Foley and John Hall. You can find other episodes at mammalwatching.com/podcast.